First at 4, a shocking discovery at O'Hare. A man caught living there for 3 months. The nation's capital prepping for an inauguration like no other seen in U.S. history. And remembering the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on this day of service.
Live from Chicago's #1 news, ABC 7 Eyewitness News at 4 starts right now.
And good afternoon. We start with the man living at O'Hare. Police say the California man claimed to be too afraid of COVID-19 to fly.
He was apparently hiding out for 3 months in a secured area of O'Hare International Airport until he was arrested over the weekend. ABC 7's Ravi Baichwal live at O'Hare this afternoon with more on this story. Ravi.
Well, Judy and Rob, you can imagine this is something that has really caught this airport a little bit unawares. This man's name is Aditya Singh. He's 36 years old. Apparently, he was living off the generosity of strangers, passengers who were giving him food during all that time. But now he's facing felony criminal trespass charges for hanging around in restricted areas of O'Hare for 3 months. As you say, plus he's also facing misdemeanor theft charges. In Cook County Bond Court yesterday, prosecutors said Singh arrived at O'Hare on a flight from L.A. on October 19th and allegedly has lived in the airport's security zone ever since without detection. The judge incredulous.
That is an egregious violation after over $100 billion has been spent on aviation security in this country in the last 20 years.
A prosecutor said that early Saturday afternoon, 2 United Airlines employees approached Singh and asked to see his identification. He lowered his face mask. He showed them an airport ID badge around his neck, one that an airport operations manager had apparently reported missing on the 26th of October.
How could something like this happen?
Well, the reality is it shouldn't. You have any TSA-administered airport, you have multiple layers of safety and security. Those men and women have been under-resourced, they have been under-trained, and they haven't been provided the equipment they need to do their job. And so I think it's really important that we don't dismiss this.
Airline travel is down 60 to 70%, and O'Hare's terminals are a case in point. Some travelers were unnerved and think people need to be more aware of their surroundings, such as in Europe.
I live here like 16 years, and I'm still noticing that every day. You know, you go somewhere and people, they don't even notice you, and you're walking around.
It just feels scary that somebody is here. It is a huge problem.
The employees called 911 and police took Singh into custody. In a statement, the Chicago Department of Aviation said, while this incident remains under investigation, we have been able to determine that this gentleman did not pose a security risk to the airport or the traveling public. We will continue to work with our law enforcement partners on a thorough investigation of this matter. And you can imagine that thorough investigation is going to be looking at all kinds of systems that failed in this situation. The public defender for Mr. Singh says that he is unemployed. He's from Orange, California, just southeast of Los Angeles. He lives with roommates, and he has no criminal background. Reporting live from O'Hare, Ravi Baichwal, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Ravi. Some anxious moments aboard an American Airlines flight today. This plane left Chicago, was headed for Miami, but ended up diverting to Nashville because of an unruly passenger. That passenger was reportedly taken into police custody.
And Illinois is now launching multiple healthcare staffing contracts to increase hospital staffing. With that, the state's Department of Health is adjusting its mitigation metrics for regions 8, 9, 10, and 11. They will now move from the most restrictive Tier 3 to Tier 2. That will happen immediately. That does include Chicago, DuPage, McHenry, Kane, and Lake counties. And this allows for the reopening of movie theaters, casinos, and museums, and group fitness classes. They can all take place. Meanwhile, a grim milestone for the country during this COVID-19 pandemic. The total number of cases in the United States now more than 24 million. The number of COVID-19 deaths is near 400,000. The U.S. has the highest number of cases and deaths than any other country in the world. And today, Illinois is reporting 3,385 newly confirmed and probable cases of COVID-19. 50 more people have died. The state's test positivity rate dropped slightly now to 7% today. And First Lady Melania Trump posted a goodbye video on Twitter. She said it's been the honor of her life to serve as First Lady.
In all circumstances, I ask every American to be an ambassador of Be Best, to focus on what unites us, to raise above what divides us, to always choose love over hatred, peace over violence and others before yourself. Together.
Mrs. Trump also mentioned in her message that violence is not the answer for any situation and will not be justified.
We are now 2 days until the presidential inauguration, and the ABC 7i team reports our nation is increasingly on alert, with additional arrests from the attack on Congress and more National Guard troops. Our investigative reporter, Chuck Goudie, says D.C.'s on lockdown. He joins us live this afternoon with more. Chuck.
Rob, the defensive strategy in D.C. features multiple fence lines, perimeters, and buffer zones with thousands of National Guard members from Illinois and other states. This huge mobilization in Washington continues, even though threatened armed violence last weekend never materialized. A security alert at the U.S. Capitol this morning, sending people running for cover, even though it was a fire at a homeless camp a mile away and no threat to the Capitol. The incident revealing nerves on edge, despite several protective rings of heavily armed soldiers, public checkpoints, and citywide closures. Go, go, go! New video of the January 6th insurrection from New Yorker magazine, revealing rioters looking for lawmakers, including the Speaker of the House. Now the hunt is on for this woman, Riley June Williams of Pennsylvania, who allegedly stole Speaker Pelosi's laptop and planned to sell it to Russia. And this afternoon, with some of the attackers known to be military members, all 25,000 National Guard troopers assigned here are being revetted.
The FBI is part of it. The Secret Service is part of it. And once they are certain that there's no insider threat, then that soldier, guardsman, or airman is given a credential.
The man in charge of the D.C. Guard, Major General William Walker, a Southside Chicago native and Leo High School graduate, went to UIC and has a master's from Chicago State. Now, the most important job of his career.
We are part of the layered defense to ensure that the bubble that will be around the vice president and the vice president-elect and the president-elect, so that we can have a peaceful transfer of power.
That Capitol lockdown today, because of a small nearby fire, came during a rehearsal for President-elect Biden's swearing in and marked an undercurrent of fear in Washington right now, despite the unprecedented security blanket. The first time a presidential inauguration has been held on the heels of an armed Capitol takeover, in which 5 people died, including a police officer. A sitting president implicated in egging it on, and his impeachment playing out in real time. Rob?
Chuck, ABC News will have special coverage of the inauguration of President-elect Biden. That includes the swearing-in ceremony, a visit to Arlington Cemetery, the inaugural military organization. In Philadelphia, President-elect Joe Biden and the future First Lady Jill Biden also volunteered. They boxed up food at a local food bank, all part of the National Day of Service in honor of Martin Luther King Day holiday.
And local leaders honoring Dr. Martin Luther King today with a call to service. They joined with a citywide effort focused on helping school children and inspiring the next generation of leaders to follow Dr. King's example. ABC 7 political reporter Craig Wall has more on that.
As Chicago students prepare to return to school, a group of volunteers with City Year joined together to pack back-to-school supplies. On this holiday honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they had a day on instead of taking the day off. Mayor Lightfoot joining with other elected officials, stressing the importance of service during the pandemic.
From its earliest days, the COVID-19 pandemic forced us to take public service beyond its traditional association of those working in government and broaden it to encompass every role we play in the lives of our fellow residents.
Dr. King has a rich history in Chicago, leading marches here in 1966 and even renting an apartment for a while on the West Side. Illinois was the first state to recognize him with an official holiday in 1973, pushed by then State Representative Harold Washington.
So fitting that this day has become synonymous with service, as hundreds of thousands of Americans find ways to work together to improve all our communities in the name of Dr. King.
Governor Pritzker noting legislation passed this week to address racial inequalities in education and criminal justice aligned with King's mission. This is the 27th annual National Day of Service to honor Dr. King. Another group of volunteers passing out 300 laptops for students at 3 different schools, including here at Corliss High School.
What you are doing today and what you do every day really can either tear up, tear down, or build up. It can either discourage or encourage.
Dr. King praised for being a servant at heart and a model to motivate the next generation of leaders.
This is not a moment for despair. This is not a moment for reflection on the wound. It's for the cure.
Craig Wall, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
And now to our weather. We may be in for a fresh coating of snow.
Yeah, we have a live picture outside for you right now on this Monday afternoon. Larry is off today. Meteorologist Phil Schwarz is here with your forecast. Hi, Phil.
Hey, Judy and Rob. Yeah, this is not going to be a big storm by any stretch of the imagination. Most of the snow is going to fall tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. And at least at O'Hare, look at these amounts. Generally less than a ½ an inch of accumulation. Some places could get up to an inch of snow, maybe just enough snow to create a few slick spots later in the day tomorrow. Right now, seasonably cold, 26 in Glen Ellen, 28 in Cicero. Officially at O'Hare, it's 27. You folks in Hammond right now sitting at 30 degrees. Plenty of clouds around our area right now, but those clouds will break later tonight. We'll see a little sun tomorrow morning, and then that light snow during the afternoon hours tomorrow. Tomorrow, a chilly day, but we warm up as we head towards Thursday. It's not going to last, though. I'll have your entire forecast, which does have some more snow in it, that coming up in a few minutes. Rob and Judy.
Okay, Phil. City to the suburbs, a rash of violent carjackings, 5 carjackings in just one Chicago neighborhood. The story's ahead at 4:30.
But first, right here at 4, comedy legend Steve Martin, his good news and bad news about the COVID-19 vaccine.
A bit later, can you believe some holiday packages have yet to arrive?